Ben Schwartz stars in Netflix's comedy series Space Force and the comedy specials Middleditch and Schwartz. He is a Primetime Emmy and Gold Derby Award winning actor.
Whoa! Gold Derby Award winning actor.
Yeah, did you see the award you won for Gold Derby, Ben?
I believe Gold Derby, I was given like the guest star of the decade or something, right?
Yeah, guest star of the decade.
I remember that being absolute insanity. It was very, someone tweeted it at me and I was like, this is incredible. Yeah. It was very funny.
So Space Force dropped the end of May. It's a show in some ways inspired by the precedent, would you say, Ben?
I would say that it's, I think it's inspired by the idea of what opening a new military branch that revolves around space travel actually means. I think that's kind of where it is. But it never really makes fun of any particular thing. It's never like a 1-to-1 ratio. Like, I'm not exactly what my name suggests, and I'm not exactly what the media manager of the actual Space Force is, which is funny because someone told me, hey, there's a person that does your job in the show. There's an actual person who does that. I thought that was so funny. But yeah, I think Greg and Steve were like, talked with Netflix and like how funny, just there's so much comedy in the idea of starting a whole new military branch, in 2020 and revolving around space.
Yeah. I'm just going to turn my camera off, Ben, for when you answer questions. So don't freak out. I'm still here.
You got it.
So you play Fuck Tony in the show. And
I do.
What's the biggest challenge for you playing that character?
I don't know about challenge, but one of the things that we worked on in the beginning is to make sure that it wasn't Jean Ralphio. To make sure that Jean Ralphio was a character I played on Parks and Recreation, which won the coveted Guest Star of the Decade award for Gold Derby. But to make sure that the character is grounded, that the comedy comes from character choices and stuff like that, and even just like like my hair is insane right now, but we made sure that my hair was trim enough. We made sure that I didn't wear crazy clothes and stuff like that, but still had a personality on his own because the character doesn't have a military background, and the character doesn't have a science background, which is almost every single character in the show. So he gets to be his own independent thing, which is lovely. I don't know if there's like huge challenges, but that's one of the things that we really looked at and made sure of for that particular part.
Yeah, and I guess like your character does like come from a very different world from nearly every other character in the show. Yeah. You're trying to bring PR sensibilities to the military. What's your favorite thing about what Fuck Tony's all about?
I love the idea that I bring a lot of energy into it too, because he's very excited and he's also dealing with millennial aspects of things which Carell's character could care less about. Carell's character doesn't even know how to work an iPhone to begin with. And I think Malkovich's character is hipper than people may think at the beginning, but he's like the cool dad, and Carell's kind of like the very uptight father that I'm trying to impress. But I love the idea that I get to play with this. Like in his world, all these tiny little things online mean the world to him. And nobody else it means anything. And the character structure of playing that against people has been very exciting. And also for me to learn how much it really means, and for me to like learn values throughout the whole thing has been really fun. Yeah. Not me, my character, not me in particular.
Yeah. What was the most fun moment for you this season?
There's a couple. By the way, doing scenes with Don Lake is so special. You said you watched the show already. He is such a special actor and improviser, so that is really fun. Doing my first scene with Carell was really exciting, which is the first scene in the whole thing that we did, I believe. I'm playing with Malkovich. Those are people that I looked up to for a very long time in my life. But there are a bunch of scenes where it's like, there's a scene where it's me, Malkovich, and Don Lake interviewing potential people for space travel. And it was so fun, just the music of the three of us playing together it was Chris Gethard and Aparna, and it was great. We had such fun with that stuff. I'm really enjoying having that like fun group mind, or like when F. Tony has status in a scene is really exciting to play, because I think that's where he wants to belong, but he's not quite there yet.
Yeah, and it's funny, like we're sort of living in a world where like things are becoming more PR driven, like areas of the world that haven't previously, and you're sort of the character that's the voice of that in the show.
Yeah, think about how much of politics is spoken about online right now or through Twitter and stuff like that. So it is a job and a valuable asset to have at a company that wants to either spin stories for good or for bad, or to just try to get the word out about what Space Force does to begin with.
Yeah.
It is weird not to look at you, because then I'm looking down a lot. I'm not looking at anybody. I'm just like I'm like that Kermit gif of just like sipping my tea, kind of.
Yeah, I'll put myself on when I'm asking more questions.
No, you're good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
As you said, there's a big ensemble in the show. And it's a very varied, like, you know, if you looked at the comedic resumes of a lot of people on this, it'd be varied and comprehensive. What's something you've learnt from this cast and from working with these guys?
Oh, man, I love watching Malkovich play. He is very well prepared. He knows his scenes beforehand. He really does his research. He goes through things. I've been watching a lot of Sanders lately. Like Hank Kingsley. I don't know if you ever watched. I'm hoping you have. If you've seen Larry Sanders Show.
Yeah.
Okay. Hank Kingsley in that show. A lot of that comedy comes from this character that he builds, and it's not even one-liners. It's just like he's so in the character that whatever he says, you know, like. So I think Malkovich is a master at that, and Carell is a master. If you look at Michael Scott, he's incredible. So I've been loving watching them go, and loving watching what they do from take to take, and loving how they want to play and how they express themselves and stuff like that. And I think if we get another season, I think there'll be even more growth, because think about all these Greg Daniels shows. You know, look at Parks and The Office, and so it's like he continues to find ways to grow out his characters and branch out. So it's not just the same thing over and over again for 30 minutes, but watching a character really grow. So all that stuff is the stuff I'm excited about, and the stuff I've been learning and watching.
Yeah. Do you get to improvise much in Space Force?
Yeah, a little bit. Not a ton. Not like where we went on tangents, but within the words a little bit. I think the first season is mostly to really like figure out where everybody is and learn about the characters. Then I think we'll get to play it more and more. There are some scenes. There's one full piece of a scene that was improvised. There's a thing that happens that I make a mistake, and what's supposed to happen is Carell says, "Come with me," and I go with him, and then there's a whole different scene that was written where I talk about why I'm so sorry and this is what I did and da-da-da. And instead, in one of the takes, Carell says, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And they didn't cut. And he just went off on the character outside. I don't know if you remember the scene. And he's cursing at me so loud and with such intensity that you can't even understand what he's saying. And I just nod. And they ended up keeping that scene and cutting the next scene because it was so funny that way. And then he brought us back in. And then I don't know if it stayed, but Don Lake, I don't know if they kept us in the cut, but Don Lake goes, "How did that go?" And I go, good. We worked it out. And it's obvious I just got killed outside. That was a very fun improv piece that I remember.
Yeah. Did did you have a funniest moment from the show? A scene that you thought was just the funniest?
For me, or just in general?
Yeah, which one was that? Sorry, Ben, you cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry. In general, two of my favorite scenes are one, they interview Don Lake's character, and they try to see for a reason that he could be doing something wrong, so they interview him. And I thought it was so funny. And then there's another scene where Malkovich gets drunk by himself and starts ranting. Those two scenes I remember rewatching. They gave us links before we did press and everything. I remember rewatching those scenes twice because they made me laugh so hard. And also the second half of the second episode, I was dying in. Those are my favorite places to watch.
That's good. Now you've been very busy with Netflix the past year because you've also just recently released a series of three comedy specials with Thomas Middleditch. They're called Middleditch and Schwartz, and they're not stand-up comedy specials. They're improv comedy specials. And yes. I imagine the improv most people are familiar with is short form improv, whose line is it anyway, short game sort of format comedy. But this is long form improv where you pretty much get an idea at the very beginning of the show and then you just run with it and build a whole sort of story over the course of 45 minutes or so.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. What usually, like when I've seen you perform sometimes at UCB, and you often will start, and actually in the first episode of the show, you sort of talk about how improv exists in the moment and then evaporates. And it's this shared thing with the audience that you have in this moment together. Do you lose something by taking that to TV? Do you lose that magic?
Well, that's the biggest thing was, and the kind of thing that was said about filming long form improv is that it never works. And so that was something we were really fighting the whole way through. The way that Thomas and I thought about it was like, all right, if we really want to film it, we want to show that there's a place to go for improv, because mostly it's like you took a class at UCB, it's usually performing at like 100 space theater for free, which I did for 18 years.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes some people tour, but not really. So for it was a big deal to show people, or not show people, just to say that the art form is awesome. And there's so many talented people that do it. So when we started to tour, which was aided by the fact that both of us were on TV, so it helped us, tour a little bit more. And then people started to fall in love with actually the shows. And then when we made a special, it shows that, things can grow out to be bigger. But when we did the special, we thought, okay, what we're doing is let's use the form, let's use the idea of we're filming something to highlight improv as much as we can. So we took just about all the money that Netflix gave us and put it into making it. We hired 9 cameramen and women, but 9 camera people. And so everything was covered. So that way, when we're editing, this incredible woman named Elise edited it. When we were in the editing room with Elise, we would find ways where the scene plays the best here, or in a 2, or let's do a single of Thomas and then cut to a single of me. And we're using the idea of filming it to highlight some of the improv aspects. We're like, all right, let's try our best. And it seemed to have worked because critics loved it, which is, you never know because it's such a new thing for a lot of people to see. So critics loving it was huge. But then so many people saying how much it made them laugh during this pandemic, all that stuff was really important and nice and kind to hear.
Yeah. Now you perform, it does evaporate in time. It's this shared experience. And then you then come and perform the next week and you do an extra. This is something that you can come back to in a way that you can't with other improv shows. I'm sure you watch them all and, to see, the edits come together and stuff like that. What's something that you appreciated about your work that you got to see from looking in at it?
Oh, man, I will say it is very weird to not watch yourself improvise. And I've done thousands of shows ever, maybe 3 times ever. Has anything been filmed ever? I cannot figure out my hair. I'm trying my hardest. I can't, anytime I got to cut it. I got to figure out a way to cut it. It was crazy to film something. And now anything you do, any mistake, anything is there because whatever happens, happens. We can't cut a big, like if a stand-up special, they're like, I don't like that joke, let's cut it out. You can't really do a big chunk with Middleditch and Schwartz because it's a story. You would lose a piece of the story. So whatever happens, happens. We have little trims here, and like in the beginning is mostly where all of our editing was. When we're talking to the crowd, we talk to them for like 12 minutes, but we truncated it into 4 minutes so people wouldn't watch a special and be like, what the hell is this? And we want to get to the improv as quick as possible. So it was very interesting to watch ourselves so much. To edit something, as you know, to edit anything, you have to watch yourself so many times over and over again to find like the perfect place to edit or pick the perfect camera angles. I think the thing that was one of the things I watched that I was really excited about for us was there was a scene that was between me and Thomas where Thomas was playing Short Paul for the first time in the first episode. And Short Paul was on a little chair, on a chair like this, and his legs are above. And when we're editing it, I remember being like, oh my God, this scene is just 2 people talking it was like 6.5 or 7 minutes. And I was like, I don't know if audiences are going to be like excited and like stay with it because it's just 2 people talking. There's no props. Thomas is on a chair. I sit down in a chair next to him, and that's it for 6 or 7 minutes. So I was like, I hope people will stay with it, and they did. But that was a thing because we don't really know how long scenes are going for. And when we're like, whoa, we just talked for 7 minutes and kept the audience really excited without even moving. That was exciting to see stuff like that. And also to see close-ups of Thomas's characters, I love. You see his face and you get to like all that stuff when we're doing 2-person, oftentimes, like when I'm being interviewed, there's a scene in one of the things where I'm being interviewed by a computer and I don't get to see what Thomas is doing at all. I just hear his voice and now I can see all that stuff. It's very interesting, but it's a lot of pressure to film something that doesn't really get filmed. and be like, shit, if we make any mistakes, people are just going to go over it time and time again. Or the hope is if they love it, they'll go over it time and time again and like either nitpick or love. And so far it has been, I mean, overwhelmingly love, which is, we didn't see it coming. We were both nervous before it came out. Literally, up until the minute it came out, we were like, oh, we have no idea what people are going to think. So the fact that something so different can be put out in such a big scale and people enjoy it was huge. We love that. Yeah,
you're like your biggest failure could become a meme, like, or something like that, couldn't it? Like,
yeah.
What you've done improv with Thomas for years, so
yes.
It wasn't you working with. As in improv, how does he make you look good?
Oh, Tom, we support each other a lot. Thomas makes me look good because he's incredible at characters. I mean, he's great at everything, but he's incredible at characters. And I know wherever I go, he will say yes. And the only time he says no is if we're breaking the fourth wall to talk about it. But it's like, I know wherever I go, it's like jumping off of something and freed up. I know that he will be right there with me and we will create together. I don't have to feel weird about taking any risks or crazy ideas that are in my head. I know that I'm safe and protected with him. But the thing I love so much is watching him do characters and accents because he's so good. And oftentimes people just know him from Silicon Valley, and which he's great in. But he has such a wide range of characters he can do that are, kind of insane and perfect for an improv show. So it's really highlights how good he is at that stuff. So together, I think we kind of make a perfect team because we don't have the exact skill set of the others, but we're pretty good at a lot of things. You know what I mean? So it's fun to really shine in each other's, he calls them the superpowers that you have in improv. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment from the three specials?
I'm really happy we brought that Joker thing back. That made me really happy when I watched. Yeah. I love that Short Paul stuff. I love Thomas's I'm loose stuff. I'm really happy how patient and nice that beginning of that interview scene was, where it's just me sitting and we took our time, because often like if we're doing a special, you almost think like quickly get to the crazy or whatever. And we kind of we took our time with that, and I was really happy with that stuff. But I don't know if I have a favorite part. That Short Paul stuff made me laugh. I really remember being happy with when Thomas became the person we had forgotten in that law school thing. Out of nowhere, he becomes Nigel and is like, I'm here and I'm going to save the whole thing. And that character explains what nobody else could. And I loved that beat, because it's like, if we had just remembered Nigel, we could have figured this out 15, 20 minutes ago. That guy had all the answers and was breaking everything down. I loved that beat of Thomas's. There's a lot of those moments when we call stuff back and the audience is really on board that I really dig.
Yeah, it's almost like the longer gap between the longer gap between something being brought back, the more rewarding it is.
I think there's definitely a piece of that, because the audience it's such an interesting thing, especially now that it's a special. The audience does not know more than me. We're finding out everything at the same exact time. When you're watching a TV show, the audience is learning stuff when the actor already knows, blah, blah, blah. But it is so apparent that Thomas and I are making up. So anything that happens is stored in our minds and the audience minds at the same exact time. And I think there's that little fun thing, if they forget about it for a second and we bring it back later on, that they're like, oh, because they were there when it happened to begin with. Like, there's no information that exists outside of what the audience knows and what we know. So I think it's exciting, and that shared celebration when it happens.
Yeah, in improv and the improv you do, a lot of it's about finding the game, right? It's about finding where is this heading? Where do we land this plane?
Sure.
What was the hardest of the three to find the game for?
Oh man, and finding the game is different than how it ends. So finding the game is finding the unusual. Finding the game in UCB terms, upright citizens reading terms, is finding the unusual thing in the scene and finding a way to play it back and forth.
Yes.
So, and playing it at a slower pace, and then speeding up, but never you bring up a good point, because we're doing these shows that are so long. There's not a lot of improv shows that are one story. Oftentimes when I do other shows, it's you edit yourselves and you do a lot of scenes, but we're telling one story. So there are times, like at the end with the body switching thing, that one was a hard one to land, because we're like, well, who the fuck are we? What's going on? Wait, let's talk about this for a second. But then sometimes you figure it out at the last second, like with the Joker moment, or Thomas leaving as the priest Joker guy. being like, that's all I had to do. I'm set free. You know what I mean? Like finding those moments that really connect it all. Breakfast Club moment at the end to call that all back. That stuff feels lovely. But I'll say the hardest landing out of those three was the interview one, which we again were like, do we keep all this in? Do we keep all of us struggling with figuring out how to land this thing in? And that has turned into some of people's favorite parts of the whole series, which is I found so interesting. So one of the biggest things in improv is you always play to the top of your intelligence, and you don't dumb anything down for the audience. The audience is just as, capable and everything as you. And this is a perfect example as the audience in Netflix terms got all the stuff that we were doing. And so it's just great. I feel very lucky that the fans that we have and the people we've made, the fans that we've made, get it and love it. It's been very cool because we were, again, very scared.
You've had you've done so many things already in your career, Ben. You played Sonic, you've been in DuckTales, you've written for Letterman, you've won an Emmy, you've consulted for Star Wars, all these things. What's the I don't know, the highlight or the most crazy thing you've gotten to do so far?
Wow, what's the highlight of this year?
Of your career, of just everything you've gotten to do in entertainment.
Oh crap, man. I don't know. It's terrifying. I don't know. I'm not very good at celebrating the moment. Like exactly what you said. Also, this the past month has been very surreal in that Sonic, Middleditch and Schwartz, Standing Up, Falling Down with Billy Crystal, Space Force is all coming out, and I'm trying to get better at enjoying when things are happening as opposed to just worrying about what my next job is going to be. But there's so many different moments that have shaped how I got where I am. Even just freelancing monologues for Letterman was huge. Getting Jean Ralphio, becoming Jean Ralphio and people caring about him that much, enormous. Getting like my first voiceover gig that allowed me to then become Sonic, going on my first international press tour, like with Jim Carrey, all this stuff, all these things, it's just very surreal and incredible. And it's kind of, the timing is so unique in that it's kind of all like really hitting a nice little moment right now while we're all inside. But my hope is that all the stuff I'm doing is probably, hopefully bringing people joy and laughing, and that would make me so happy. But I don't know if there's an exact moment, but all the things that you have listed, I have props for in here. I have Letterman's mug. I have the first joke I ever got on Letterman. I have the Emmy I won. I have all the stuff from Entertainment 720 when I did Parks and Rec. I have House of Lies. I like, I'm a nerd. I like collecting stuff. So it's like, I can look here and be reminded every now and then of like, look at all these cool things that have happened, but I have to get better at enjoying it. Oftentimes I'm just worrying about the next thing, or worried that if I enjoy it, people are going to be like, calm down. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Very. Okay. Ben, last.
You had one more. You had one more.
Okay.
You promised two. You promised me two last questions.
Okay. Yeah. Here's the last question. Do you mind doing a quick rock, paper, scissors shoot?
I love it. That's a perfect way to end this.
I did this with Thomas Middleditch and he beat me. So I now feel like, yeah.
If he beat you, you have zero chance to win. I will guarantee victory.
Well, now I feel like I really have to win this one. Like I wouldn't have minded losing one, but I don't want to lose both. But we'll see how we go.
Okay, so are we doing best 2 out of 3 or just one?
Let's just do one. Unless
also,
just one.
There's a huge delay also, by the way. So this isn't really going to work.
We just got to do it. Like there was a bit of a delay with Thomas too. Just honesty system.
You have to commit. Yes, honesty system. I agree. Yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, you call it.
Okay. Let me just think what I want to do. Okay, I've got it.
Foolish. Of course, by the way, you are so foolish. Of course you would pick that. All right, if you want to lose this way, you'll lose this way.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, tie.
Oh.
Run it back.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh, no!
Oh, yes! Oh, yes! Oh,
that's it.
Ben.
It's the end of my career.
What happened, buddy?
What happened is I got dominated. I got absolutely destroyed in rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah. On that note, cheers, Ben.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much. It's fun to talk to you again.
Oh, what happened to the Letterman mug?
It's over there. I put it back up with all the other ones.
No
I also have
worries.
Larry King's suspenders over there. He gave me a pair of his suspenders.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, what a guy! What a guy! Anyway, I hope you get the hair. I hope you get the hair situation sorted too.
I mean, we both need to just cut our hair, I guess.
I know. We both need a haircut. Okay, Ben.
Hey, brother.
People
So
watching
nice
this,
to chat with you.
so great to talk to you. People watching this interview, go to goldderby.com, make your Emmy predictions. Ben, all the best with the Emmy Awards coming up, with other things down the pipeline. Have a great time.
Good to see you again, man. Take care and good job. By the way, everybody should know that you're teaching human beings. Everybody needs teachers right now, and you're kicking butt and teaching kids, and that's great. So congrats and thank you for that.
Yeah, well, we need to laugh too, and thanks for doing that for us as well.
Of course, buddy. All right, talk soon.